Hey guys, Archangel Manga here, and before I get into this video, I just want to talk about manga and its general sort of role in like the YouTube community. Commonly, I'd say the general consensus believes that if it's popular, if a series is popular, then it is good. And me personally, I don't believe that that's always the case. I've been on YouTube regularly uploading and making reviews now for a good few months. And what really started me off was seeing reviews of like the big three, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Getting into sort of that. But now I'm just kind of really bored. I'm bored of seeing people talking about the same old series week in week out. And like One Piece is massive. That's I feel that that it's deserved to a certain extent. But other series that are getting just equal amount of hype, like Fairy Tail and Naruto and Bleach, that for me personally, I've just they're not bad series. They're popular for a reason, obviously. They're good, but for me, the average at best. They're just mediocre series that I don't feel deserve the attention and recognition that they get and that they have, especially Naruto these days. It's just it's a wishy-washy series for me. Volume 63 came out, and I think it's the first time ever I've gone into my local comic book shop and like not even looked at it. I didn't even bother picking up the latest volume. I'll pick that up as and when I get around to it. But yeah, I'd just like to see more focus on other series. I kind of every now and then like do a search on YouTube, for underrated series that people have done a review on, and surprisingly, not much stuff really comes up. It's really all about the popular hype and reviewers keeping up their audiences by reviewing the same old stuff each week. And yeah, so some of the reviews are good, but when you see like one review would do a review of like a One Piece chapter, and then like a plethora of others doing reviews of the exact same thing. They all just kind of get a bit repetitive, and just start mimicking each other and parroting each other, and it's just I'm kind of sick to the back teeth of it, really. I'd like to see more focus on more underrated series, so that's why I'm doing this video. So I was thinking about how to structure this video, and at first I was thinking of like excluding series that are not ongoing, like one-shot mangas and things like that. But to kind of vary and add more content to this video, obviously I'm going to be putting in mangas that I own. There's no point in me talking about mangas that I don't own because I don't read online anyway. So what I own is all that I've read. So series that are included in this will be ongoing series that have been already completed, and maybe a few just like standalone volume series. I'll also throw in a few honourable mentions, for things that I didn't get in this list, because obviously it's a top 10, so I can only fit 10 series in this list, but I will throw in a few honourable mentions just, to kind of, add a little bit of spice to the video, so to say. So kicking off at number 10, we have Parasyte by Hitoshi Iwaki, an 8-volume long series published in the Japanese Afternoon magazine, originally run in 1990 to 2000, not 2005, 1995. This is an underrated masterpiece. It's a classic seinen that anybody really needs to read, about like alien invasions and alien parasites going into human bodies and taking them over. It is absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend anybody read this. If you're still into battle manga and you're into like psychological things, then this is definitely your cup of tea. It doesn't shy away from extreme gore and violence, but also it's very character driven, so it's definitely something that would appeal to the masses. And following shortly, coming in at number 9, we have the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service by Eiji Otsuka and Husui Yamazaki. Published by Dark Horse Manga. This is 13 volumes that have so far been released in America and the UK. It's an ongoing series, so it's definitely something you could easily pick up. It's a horror seinen, following the lives of some young Buddhist students who make a business out of dealing with like corpses, and basically the premise of the story is
they find corpses that the souls are still trapped in the bodies, and they need to help these souls in order for them to get to their next reincarnation. So they do this for monetary gain because it's a business to them, and it's just it's like episodic. From chapter to chapter, we're introduced to like new characters and new stories, and it's I don't want to say adventure because it's not an adventure, but different scenarios and different scenarios to find themselves in. It's very very interesting. Not very character driven, but it's more plot driven. But very very interesting manga. Very dark. Very surreal in some aspects. If you're into like spiritual, psychological, and elements of comedy as well, then I highly highly recommend this. I don't see anybody else talking about this, and it's very very good. So yeah, the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service by Eiji Otsuka, who's the same writer who did MPD Psycho, which I believe a lot of people are familiar with, but I haven't read that. At number 8, we have Mushishi by Yuki Urushibara. I always butcher that name. This is an extraordinary manga series. It's published in Afternoon, which is the same magazine anthology that Parasyte is published in, as well as loads of other like really famous, underrated, classic series. Mushishi is about Ginkgo, who is a mushi master. Mushi basically is a Japanese word for bug, but it's not really about insects. It's more about like spirits, but not like human spirits. More like spirits of the world, like forest spirits, and these like little transient life forms that exist between the world of the dead and the world of the living. And Ginkgo, our Mushi master, can see these, and it's just basically him, traveling around what the viewer assumes to be like ancient Japan, basically going from village to village and encountering people who are tormented by these Mushi beings. But the thing is, the Mushi beings themselves aren't evil or good. They're just like a neutral factor, and they intertwine with the lives of people in either positive or negative ways, and it's just about Ginkgo going around and trying to solve various problems and various circumstances that people have found themselves into by intertwining with these Mushi. And it's very very interesting, because we find people in like very desperate situations where they're being tormented by Mushi, or people abusing Mushi powers and things like that. And it's a real roller coaster of emotion. You get to empathize with some of the characters, and there's no good and evil in this story. It's very neutral. It's a very neutral setting, and the artwork is beautiful. The manga itself is 10 volumes long. It's complete. I'm hoping for a reprint of this because it's vastly out of print, but the anime is very easy to come by, and the anime follows the manga parallel. You can buy the anime in like a full safe edition box set, which is like region free, so it can be played in any DVD player, and it's around like £15. So if you can't find the manga, then buy the anime because the anime is also amazing. But yeah, that's Mushishi. Dropping in at number 7, we have Axe Alternative Manga. This is a manga anthology from the actual Axe magazine, which promotes alternative manga and manga that really breaks away from the canon of what manga is and how it's produced. The artists that feature in this, I think there's about 30 or 35 different artists that feature in this, all bring something completely unique to the table with this. Different stories, different art styles, just completely surrealist and abstract stories. And some of them don't make sense. Some of them are funny. Some of them are scary. Some of them will just leave you confused. But it is absolutely amazing. If you want to try something new, then this is an excellent place to start because there's so many different varied art styles and stories that feature in this. Then you can really decide what really is like your preference. Some of the artwork is absolutely gorgeous in it. Like, I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. This is volume 1. So I'm expecting there's going to be a volume 2. I don't know when or in what format, but it's relatively thick, and for the price, you're looking at around £8 to £10. It's relatively cheap. It's still in print. Next, in at number 6, we have Inio Sano's What a Wonderful World. This is 2 volumes long and it's complete, so it's very short and very sweet. It's a series of 10 short intertwining stories dealing with the lives of young people in Japan in a small town. Basically dealing with daily struggles, people, getting involved with, like, the mafia, and, people struggling to get into university, and just daily life struggles of young and old people, told beautifully, in the very unique way that Inio Sano tells it. The artwork is beautiful. It's published by Viz. It's still in print. 2 volumes long. You really can't go wrong with this series. I've done a review on this, so if you want to check that out, I'll put the link in the description. Some of these series that I'm going to be featuring on this list, I've done reviews on. So if you want to know more about this series, then check out my review. Coming in at the halfway mark at number 5, we have Ikigami, The Ultimate Limit by Motoromase. Yeah, I forgot that name. Basically, this series is set in an alternate version of Japan where the government is like totalitarian. They demand absolute obedience of the civilians there, and the population there. So what they do, when you get to like a certain age, when you're young, you get a vaccination. You get your regular vaccinations, but 1 in 1,000 of those vaccinations contains like a tiny little nano capsule that's embedded in like one of the arteries in your heart. And that is there's a pre-selected time after your 18th birthday that it will randomly just explode and you'll die. And basically this follows the life of the protagonist here, and he works for the government. He's basically like a death messenger, because these people, 1 in 1,000 people who are selected to die, will be notified 24 hours before they're due to perish. So they'll be given an Ikigami, which is like a death paper, which will allow them to do anything within those 24 hours, which falls within the legal boundary. But this series deals a lot with like the human condition. This man's completely constantly questioning himself, they're questioning his job role, because he's essentially being the Grim Reaper. And it's excellent. It's so interesting, and it's episodic, so it follows the lives of different people who have been given the death sentence, and they've got 24 hours left to live. So if you want to read this, and you like totalitarian government sort of oppression sort of stories, then I highly recommend this. It is excellent. And number 4, we have a series from a very famous director and a very famous studio, but the original source material is heavily underrated, and that is Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, which I recently just did a review on, so you know how much I love this series. Similarly with Ikigami, this deals heavily with the human condition, but with aspects of war, well, heavy aspects of war. This is all about war and the suffering of the individual lives rather than the hierarchy. It doesn't focus on the hierarchy at all. It focuses on the effects of war for the general populace, the women, the children, the frontline soldiers, the people who are suffering it firsthand. It's heavily intertwined with death, and through that comes spirituality. It pretty much unravels the human condition, breaks it down and re-sculpts it in this epic fantasy story by Hayao Miyazaki, one of the greatest Japanese directors of all time. This is an absolute must-read. It was almost in my top 3, but I wanted to reserve that for a series that I haven't really talked about as of yet, because I've already done a review on this. So yes, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Read the manga. The film's alright, but read the manga. So we finally made it to the top 3, and top 3 was difficult because I love them all equally. I guess you could really consider the top 3 really like joint first place, because they're all equally brilliant in my opinion. I mean, to be honest, all the series that have been in this list, I really can't rank them one above the each other, but I can't put everything and talk about everything at the same time, so I've had to list them all in this way anyway. So in third place we have 7 Billion Needles by Nobuaki Tadano. You may recognise this front cover here as my channel thumbnail. Hikaru Takabe being blown away, and just her skeletal remains remaining. This is a 4-volume long series, very thin, published by Vertical, which is arguably one of the best manga publishers there is out there. focusing on more underrated series, you know, of like Flowers of Evil, you know, a lot of Osamu Tezuka work. Yeah, 7 Billion Needles. It's often compared to the likes of Parasyte, which is also obviously also in this list, because it deals with like an alien invasion and aliens taking over the human body. So you know, it's fast paced, but you know the story is excellent. It's also character driven, so you know there's a lot of character development, and you know the story is excellent. But this deals more with like the evolution of the human race rather than destroying it. You know, it's like a intergalactic game of cat and mouse. You know, which basically you know finalizes itself on Earth. You know, if this was a longer series, then it would probably have like you know a prequel, and this would basically be like the end of the series because it's so fast paced. There's so much that happens in you know the small amount of time. You know, there's a lot of stuff to like you know kind of get your head around, but you know it just fits. It just works for where it is. You know, any slower pace, and it probably wouldn't have worked. Any faster, and it would have just you know kind of fallen flat on its head. But yeah, this is one of my favorite series of all time. You know, short, sweet, so go out and buy it. 7 Billion. In second place, we have Karumori's A Bright Story. This is a seinen manga. It's very, very, very simplistic. It deals with the culture, like kind of like in Asia Minor, like around the Caspian Sea, just about like marriage and you know economics and well, not economics, more just like the lives of you know like nomadic tribes, and it goes from like village to village. But it focuses firstly on this character here, Amir, a 20-year-old bride who gets sent to another village to like marry, which is like customary for like you know tribes to kind of like battle with each other, you know, become like you know families by you know sending brides to you know marry into other families. But when Amir gets to the other village, she finds out that her husband to be is like only 12 years old, and you know there's this huge age gap that you know they have to like kind of get used to with each other because he's still a child and she's like 20 years old, which in their culture is considered quite old for a bride because brides and grooms usually get married like very 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 young when they're you know still children. So it you know it just follows like her integrating with you know a new family, like new surroundings, you know, trying to accustom herself to you know like new you know cultural customs, making friends, you know, that sort of thing. But you know, the story and you know the world building in this it's just so good. You know, the Carol Morit has done like an excellent job, and you know, in displaying you know the world around these characters. You know, it's just being crafted in such meticulous detail. You know, she's done a lot of research on this, so it really shows in her artwork. Let me just find a good page because this is just stunning. There's a whole chapter dedicated to just crafting a wooden door. Let me just try and find it. I mean, look at this. It's just the whole chapter is dedicated to just you know simplistic things like this, but it just really works. You know, it doesn't need to be a complex story for it to be good. You know, it's a very thin plot, but you know it just works for what it is. So check it out. Kawamori's A Bride Story. Before we get to the first spot, I just want to give a few honourable mentions to a few series that the reason why I didn't put them in this list is maybe because you know I haven't read that far into them to be able to judge like whether or not they're truly great or you know just for reasons like that, or you know series that are you know too similar to you know series that are already on this list. Like the first honorable mention, which is Male, which is by Husu Yamazaki, who did the artwork for the Kurosagi Cops Delivery Service. This is extremely similar to the Kurosagi Cops Delivery Service. In fact, it's set in the same world, so sometimes the characters kind of cross over. So, you know, it's only 3 volumes long. I did a review on this. It's an excellent series, very similar to Kurosagi Cops Delivery Service in the fact that it deals with horror and you know dead bodies and you know ghosts and things like that. So, definitely check this out. Male. Next, we have Bunny Drop by Yumi Unita. I've only read the first volume of this, but I love it. I loved it so much. I need to get more of this series. It's basically about a grown man adopting a little girl who turns out to be like his grandfather's illegitimate child. So like technically like she's his auntie, which is kind of weird. But yeah, it's a really loving story from what I've read of this so far. Um, Next, we have a series that probably would have been on my top 10 if I had have read more of it. I've got like a huge backlog of like things to read anyway. And I've got most of this series, and that is Blade of the Immortal by Hiroaki Samura. Samurai manga. This is excellent. I have a few problems with this manga so far. Once I do a review on this, I will explain those problems. But yeah, I read Hiroaki Samura's one-shot manga Ohigoshi, and I love that, so I know I'm in for a treat with this. I read the first 2 volumes of this, and it's amazing. It really is amazing. So check out this, Blade of the Immortal. Next, we have a very, very unknown series, Kamen, by Mihara Gunya. This is published by Gen Publishers. Check out their website because they've got some really interesting manga up there. But this is like the first volume. I'm not sure if like a second volume's going to come out for this. But the reason why I'm putting this on here because it's very, very, very similar to Attack on Titan. I mean, everybody knows how big Attack on Titan is, but the art style in this is almost identical to what's his name, Hajime Isayama. Albeit it's a little bit more refined. It's not as like sketchy as the artist for Attack on Titan, Hajime Isayama. But the world that it's set in is very similar to the Attack on Titan world. It's got like castles and warriors and things like that. It's very similar. I found it very similar, and I really, really enjoyed it. So check this out. And finally, for the honourable mentions, I want to talk about the Summit of the Gods. So I've only read a little bit of this, but it's about mountaineering. But the art is by Jiro Taniguchi. If you've heard of Jiro Taniguchi, he did like A Zoo in Winter and a few others that I really need to pick up. I haven't got enough of his work. That's why this isn't on the list. But yeah, check out some of Jiro Taniguchi's work. He only did the artwork for this, like I say. Yeah, that's it for my honourable mentions. Now on to number 1. We're finally here at number 1. Now, this series is probably not as unknown as some of the series that I've talked about previously on this list, but the fact that it's still ongoing and nobody's really talking about it, it's one of those mangas that is bordering on perfection artistically and aesthetically. The story is amazing, and it just has to be Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue. I know a lot of people know about this series, but I do feel that it is very heavily underrated. I know it's got like critical acclaim and excellent reviews and things like that, but I really don't see a lot of people talking about this. I know it's in like a lot of people's top like 5. It's definitely in my top 5. But it's a personal favourite of mine, and the artwork is it's just literally the best I've ever seen. I mean, if you just consider the colour pages and the effort that goes into creating this, Takehiko Inoue has done just a phenomenal job. It's almost inhuman how perfect this is. It's just I literally, this is some of these colour pages are pages that I would like to just blow up and just like have like a feature wall in my house just with his work on. But yeah, Vagabond, a fictional retelling of the life of Miyamoto Musashi, who is probably the most renowned figure in the samurai culture ever to have lived. Charting his life from humble beginnings, in his village to samurai greatness, and his eventual confrontation with Sasaki Kojiro. I really want to read the original novel that Vagabond is based on, because it's based on a novel called Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa. I know a few people who have got this novel already, and I understand that the manga follows it pretty closely. So I really want to read it. But yeah, it's just amazing. For something that's ongoing, I'd like it to have much more recognition that it has, because like historical epics and things like this, like somewhat like a niche within a niche. I mean, manga and anime is already a very niche interest, but when it comes to like historical and especially seinen series, that's like a niche within anime and manga, because anybody who kind of half-heartedly, I don't want to say half-heartedly, but somebody who hasn't really delved that far into manga and anime as like a medium, the people who just kind of follow the crowd and just kind of read the same stuff over and over and talk about the same stuff, are really missing out on gems like this. I highly recommend it anybody to read this, whether you like manga and anime or not. I just I cannot express in words how amazing this series is. It's so close to perfection. Obviously nothing is perfect, but it's just phenomenal. I'm currently on volume 8 of the Visbig editions, and it's amazing. I could keep repeating myself, telling you how amazing it is, but it's just something you need to read for yourself. It just hasn't got the hype that it deserves, in my opinion. But that's my top 10 of underrated series that I own. I know this video's gone on quite long, it's in excess of 25 minutes almost, so if you stuck around and watched, then I thank you. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Also, on other news, I'm thinking of setting up a Facebook page for my Archangel Manga channel, so you can find like regular updates of what I'm doing, what I'm reading, news updates of things that are happening in the UK wise, in the manga and anime industry, just things like that, just updates in my life, sort of thing, like kind of like a vlog thing. Guess you've got maybe a fan page, but I will let you guys know as and when that's set up, because I'm going to be setting that up pretty soon. But yeah, forward me any recommendations. If you feel that there's any underrated series that I haven't talked about, then by all means post them in the comment section. I know there's plenty of other series out there that I haven't read that are heavily underrated, so by all means express your opinions. So until then, Archangel Manga signing out.